I don't know how many of these I'm going to make, but I feel that now that I'm in a place where I have healed from my trauma and I have really looked back and observed that I can tell you how to defeat a narcissist. Now, I know that everybody on YouTube and the internet is talking about narcissism, right? Because we finally have a name to something that was a behavior that we could never explain. Yeah. So you get all sorts of advice, just like I did, about how to, go no contact and all this other stuff. And, it's right. Like most of the stuff on the internet is kind of correct, but it's not really correct. I can say this because I was raised by two narcissists. Most of my family are narcissistic. And I dated narcissists, and I married one, and I divorced one. And I can say that I have dealt with narcissists most of my life. And why I'm not a narcissist myself is because I was very fortunate at a young age to actually be around people who were mentally, physically, and emotionally healthy. And I always questioned, why wasn't my life like this? And so when you kind of get that first taste of what healthy looks like and what it feels like, if you're not already broken, you remember it. And so you keep that with you and you kind of go along your way and you question things, but you always have that taste of health in the back of your mind, right? So that's why I haven't become a narcissist myself, because I didn't let my trauma consume me. But here's where I'm different. I guess if you listen to some people on the internet, they call it going a supernova. I'm one of those people that went supernova, and I stayed that way. Believe it or not, would people tell you that an empath can't stay supernova for long? Oh no, they can stay supernova for a very, very long time. Because when you really see how narcissists are, they have a playbook that doesn't change, right? And I'm just going to teach you honestly how to outfox the fox, because narcissists and people who are narcissistic on a gradual scale think that you don't know who they are. And they count on your kindness, and they count on your wishing away their behavior. They count on you actually kind of excusing them. But when you don't excuse them, that's where the power's in your court. Now, the power will look different depending on who you are and what you want. But the whole point is that you want to win this, right? You want to get your revenge. And I'm going to teach you how to get your revenge, because they're not master manipulators that people pump them up to be. Anyone who tells you that is probably a narcissist themselves, and they want you to be afraid of them. You don't have to be afraid of them. You can beat them at their own game. If they're violent, we got solutions for that too. But I'm going to tell you about the ones who aren't violent first, because I've dealt with the violent ones too. So first things first, I want you to get in your mind right now that narcissists are just children in adult bodies, right? Every person that I have dealt with, raised me, married me, dated me, they all went through some trauma that basically stunted them emotionally when they were children. And so here is tip number one. Narcissists aren't looking for lovers. They're not looking for daughters, sons, friends. They're looking for parents. They're looking for you to do the emotional labor that a parent would do for a child. And once you understand that, that's when the power's in your court, right? And then that's where you can stop crying. You can stop wondering why. Because a lot of people who suffer from narcissistic abuse, you basically have two children in a sandbox, right? And one child is nice to the other child. That's a complete monster. It doesn't matter what kind of face the monster wears. You have two children in a sandbox, right? And you have the nice child who is like, I'll give you my ball and my candy if you give me your ball and your candy. But the other child knows off the bat that they're not going to do it. And they know that you're going to keep being nice. They know that you're going to keep giving to them. And they know that, you're going to just cry and you're never going to leave that sandbox. This is where your power comes in, because you can actually go to a narcissist and you can have in the mindset that you're the adult and they're the child. So are you ready? Because this is where it gets really good. How I defeated the narcissist in my life. First off, I was just as cruel as they were. Now, when you talk about cruelty, this is not talking about killing kittens or, bashing in car windows or outing them in public. The best thing to do about a narcissist is never out them in public. You want them to stew on it, because despite what narcissists act like they are, they're still human. They still feel guilt. They still feel shame. They just don't have any empathy. Their empathy has completely depleted, but they still want validation, and they still want your validation, and they want anyone's validation that they can't get. So first things first, when it comes to no contact, do that. But do no contact smart, meaning that you literally remove yourself from the face of the earth. Like, period. You act like they don't exist. The first thing about getting your revenge on a narcissist is to intentionally act like they don't exist. It's intentionally going to the sandbox, staring down at them, and giving them no response. And you just keep on living your life, right? Now that sounds like that's not revenge. Actually, it is. It's the first part of it. It's the first part of it. Because narcissists thrive on attention. Now, you heard the term narcissistic supply and blah, 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 but it really is attention and validation, right? They only control people who they know they can manipulate, and those people give buku validation and buku attention, right? Because those people that they siphon this from, those people hate themselves. They're not going to admit it. They're not going to say it. But a lot of people that narcissists pick up are in a point of their lives where they're in flux and they hate themselves, or they always hated themselves. And the narcissism gives them just the right amount of push and pull, right? To get that sweet, sweet attention and validation. So you're really looking at two people who are emotionally empty, but the narcissist knows how to drain the other person, right? The second thing, if you're still living with your narcissist, still working with your narcissist, or they're in your family, you literally talk to them like they're a child. Now, you don't go out of your way and belittle them, but you kind of just act like you don't hear them. If they ask you questions, you just basically start talking gibberish. You're just like, oh, if they ask you, hey, pass the butter, and you just say, oh, did you see that dog across the street? Yeah, that dog is just so beautiful. Golden retriever. Like, you literally act like what they're saying means nothing, right? Completely nothing. If you work with them and they start asking you questions or whatever, you basically just start changing the subject. You talk about some other thing, or you just talk over them, and then you just kind of act like they're not in the room. They hate that. Oh, they hate that so much. You look straight through them. If you see them, you look them dead in their eyes, and then you look to the back of their skull and you keep walking. That's going to rattle them because you're invalidating them, and they are going to kick back. And sometimes the kickback will be malicious. Sometimes it will be violent. Sometimes it will try to embarrass you. But literally, you just have to look at them like they're having a tantrum. Now, if it's violent, we'll talk about that later. But if it isn't violent, if it's trying to embarrass you, if it's trying to tell your secrets, the best thing you can do is just say, you know what? I guess this person just has nothing else to do. I guess this person has nothing else to say. And I guess this person just has too much time on their hands. If you want to believe them, that's okay. You have to basically start cornering this person or these people and make them embarrass themselves, because they will. What a lot of people don't understand is that they chase after narcissists and they think that these people are infallible, like they're invincible. Oh, when they don't get the attention they want, they will embarrass themselves. They want that validation from you. And especially if you're a person of high value, of quality, meaning you have integrity, meaning you're popular, meaning that you make a certain amount of money, meaning basically that you are normal or you're elevated and people respect you and are kind to you, you're a status symbol to them. They have to chase after you because they're irrelevant if you're not there. All right, I think I'm running a little long, but last but not least is that you just start hinting things that you want, right? Now, you may think, oh, this is never going to work. Oh, it will work. When you ignore a narcissist long enough, and then you basically look through them and validate them, that starts them basically on this downward spiral to this person who used to praise me and respect me. Oh my God, they don't praise and respect me anymore. So what can I do? And they will try the mean route. Oh, they'll try that. You're horrible. And they'll try to smear you and whatever. But when you ignore that too and just basically let it run off, then they're going to try and be nice. And this is where you can milk your narcissist for what they're worth. And if you're going no contact, believe me when I tell you, they're talking to your mutual friends. They are talking to your mutual friends. And your mutual friends, if they're cool, are not telling you anything. But if your mutual friends are just like, oh, well, she's a good guy and he's just kind of weird and, but he's a good guy too, then you just start talking like, oh man, I really wanted to go to this vacation, or I wanted this and this. And I mean, really kind of lay it on thick. And then magically things appear like clothing and gifts. And, oh, someone says that they want this. And yeah, she's really been talking about this. And man, she really wants it. And the narcissist is going to say, oh, this will give me a way in. Totally, this will give me a way in. And especially if they're covert narcissists, meaning if they're the quiet type, which to me is the most deadly, they're going to try and buy you out. This is where you can completely be, AKA gold digger. But I don't think that's really the term. This is where you can basically turn the tables on them because narcissists are extraordinarily gullible. Their ego is their linchpin. And if you can basically play with their ego, which you can because you're the adult, right? They're the child, then they will go ahead and play to you. But yeah, that's it. That's the first step to getting your revenge on a narcissist. We'll talk more later.